A tango.
That's it. You literally hear Jesse and Sarah and Idell and Larcia and Perry and all of these answers whose names I can call, but you literally hear Corrine and all of these people, and you literally hear them. Their motifs, these like small, subtle nuances that come together to create the voice that is Raheem, the literal, physical, like I guess you could say idling that is my voice, that makes my voice, the sinuses, all of that stuff that makes my voice be what it is. It's literally information that when they were alive, they were perceiving certain realities. And then they had a certain consciousness that was making certain decisions about what type of human would be best fit to serve and survive in this environment. And so then that psyche created a DNA information coding that then created a human and continues to do this and continues to do this. This intelligence continues to do this
Yes.
through the sperm and through the egg,
Yeah.
continues to do this work. And then I'm here
Wow.
as the result of all of that information.
Who am I?
Greetings. I am Monique Ruffin, and welcome to Forget Everything You Think You Know, where we have conversations that are centered around the evolution of Black people in the Western world. Black people who have experienced the legacy of trauma and oppression and enslavement at the hands of Europeans, and Black people who have been in the United States, who are literally coming into another understanding of their own unique gifts and powers at this time on the planet. And so, as you all know, it is my intention to come twice a month at the new and full moon. And this month, we are going to be having the Leo full moon on the 28th of January. And the Leo full moon is an opportunity for us to deeply embody our own unique essence. Leo governs the sun, and the sun is the core of our personality. It's how we show up in the world, right? Like if you think about the sun shows up and brings light. It shows up and creates a gravitational pull with all the other planets. The sun is true to itself no matter what. If we're having storms, and hurricanes, the sun is still shining somewhere. If it's nighttime where we are, there is also day somewhere because the sun is still doing its work. Your personality is core to you. The sun is that, and it's there no matter what. Like who you are at your core is there no matter what. And if you want to understand your sun, the essence of your personality, just go study where your sun is in your chart. So for me, my sun is in Virgo, and I show up in this energetic of healing. I move from the inside out because Virgo is an internal energy. And every month we get to look at ourselves in the energy of the full moon. And this month it's Leo. And you get to look at how your personality expresses itself and how you can begin to express it in new ways that allow you to evolve, that allow you to become more yourself, that allow you to be truer to who you were created to be, to your blueprint, to the divine blueprint. And so also Leo governs our creativity. Leo governs children. And so if you think about children and how they live in the moment, like if you watch children playing, before they're 7 or 8 years old, they just play and are free and just in the experience. They're not thinking about who's watching them. They're not thinking about what the other kids think about them necessarily. That stuff shows up later once we start to develop and we start to realize there are social norms that we might not measure up to, or we perceive that we don't measure up to. And so that's this Leo energy. It's being very present in the way like children and just allowing yourself to feel and express the essence of who you are. So how's this going on your life? How's this happening in your life? So I'm super excited today to have my guest who is, first of all, he is one of the most talented individuals I know personally, right? Like to know somebody who is as talented as this, for me, it makes me feel special. It's like when I hear his voice and I hear him talk, I am always listening and feeling so inspired. And then I feel like, wow, I know this person. Like I can actually pick up the phone and call them. I actually have access to this person. And that, to me, that's really a powerful thing when you feel really happy or inspired by the people that are in your life, because it just reminds you of life's goodness. And so today I have Raheem Kashon, who is my friend, who inspires me, but who is an artist. At the core of who he is an artist, and he embodies the Leo energy. He is an Aries sun, Leo moon. And what's your rising sign?
Cancer.
Cancer rising. That's what it is. Oh my God. I love it. I love it. Welcome. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. It is an honor. Honestly, it is an unmitigated honor to be here with you. You know, I love you so much.
I really appreciate that. And I hope that I have earned that love. Like, not that we need to earn love, but I hope that in the capacity which I show up in your life,
absolutely,
that it adds value. And that's a beautiful thing, right? About really being able to add value and benefit to people's lives. And you do that for me. And your artistry does that for thousands and millions of people. So thank you for being here today. Thank you so much. So we're here in the Leo full moon energy, and I invited you to be a guest, first of all, because you are a musician. And the thing about Leo, it is about creative self-expression. So tell me about your journey with your creativity. Like, when did you first learn about your creative gifts?
I was in the back of a van with my cousin Kenya. His name's Kenya. We call him Jaws. And I had always just mimicked voices, and he could sing. He can sing really well, and so I always was able to kind of just do things that he could do. Like I like it just would happen. Like he'd do it, and I remember the first one that he ever taught me. He was like, "If God is for us," and so I like remember like just trying to get it, and he was like, "No," he's like, "Do it again, do it again." And he kept doing it. He kept doing it. He kept doing it. And then it was like, but I could do the first part, you know, and then I couldn't do like the rest of it. And I remember him being in the back of it. It was a church van. We were in the back of the church van, and he was just like with me. He was like present. He was like, okay, you can do it. You can do it. Okay, so I'm gonna do it again, and you can do it. And from there, it just became like a thing, almost like being able to double dutch or throw a football. It's just like a physical, like knowingness that my body had that my consciousness didn't. Like you said before, I was conscious about like the social way that it's positioned. I didn't know I could sing. Wow. I just knew I could do something, right? And so that's, I mean, if you want me to tell you more, I can tell you more, but that's one of my earliest memories of like being like, wow, like, oh, I could like do what he does. Cause he was such a God in my mind, Kenya, you know, like he's my Aunt Belinda's son. So my Aunt Belinda's much older than my mom. So he's much older. So he was just like, Kenya, you know, like Jaws. Well, again, we call him Jaws. So he was like, Jaws, oh my God. So if I can do what Jaws can do, I can sing, you know.
Yeah. So that's really beautiful. For the listening audience, I want to say that we are recording this in my home, and I have 2 new kittens, and one of them is in heat. So if you hear the background with the kittens in heat, please just send her love for her needs to be met in the perfect time. Thank you. She's too young to be spaded or neutered. So that's what's going on. So thank you for that. That is a really interesting thing. Like just being that you remember, that you have memory of being aware of the development, of the discovery of your gift. It's like you remember finding gold.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes. And then at the moment, of course, like you said, because I was so young, I didn't know it was gold. It was just like a physical thing that maybe was just pretty and shiny and felt good. It was cold, maybe. But the social value and the social story around it, I had not yet known and would discover later. I remember in a lot of my discovery, it's really interesting that we're having this conversation because I'm really coming to a realization that a lot of this was at my Aunt Belinda's house because my mom wasn't as present of a mother when I was young. So I spent a lot of time with my Aunt Belinda, and she had 6 children. Well, she had 5 at the time, 4 or 5 at the time. But I would be there and they would have me sing these songs. Like they'd be like, sing this and sing that. And, one thing that was really interesting is that they would critique me and hurt my feelings. Like I didn't want to be critiqued. I just wanted to sing, you know? And so they would offer critique. And sometimes that would be like, I didn't want that. You know, I didn't want you to tell me what I could do better. Like I just wanted to sing, you know? So I do also remember developing a little insecurity around my voice too in those moments because my family's very much so, again, because they are really good at singing and arts and, you know, like spirituality, like, you know, I just come from those types of families. They can also be very critical when you're doing it. So it's like, if you're not meeting a certain standard, they will be like, that ain't it, you know? And I had to be like 4 or 5 and they were already like, that ain't it.
Let me tell you, Black folks, right? Black religious folks are ruthless. But there's a beauty in it at the same time. You know, it refines you. It's metal sharpening metal, right? But there can be a thing that goes on, and we may as well, you know, address this in the Black community. I, like you, grew up in the Black church. So one of the interesting things about being raised in the Christian church for me, last week I spoke to Tamika, which was my guest, and she talked about this structure of growing up in the Christian church and how she has had to sort of reframe those early belief systems because they were really out of alignment with her core values, like who she really is at her core, which this Leo energy is about our core. It's natural, it's innate. And one of the things that I saw growing up in the church is how we would celebrate the gift. We would celebrate somebody's talent and how well they could sing or how they played the piano or how they preached. But then there was this other conversation around their sexuality and it being a condemnation to God, right? And I was always like, well, don't we see that they're one thing? Like your creative gift and your relationship with God are one thing. So we're gonna take something and then throw something away. How did you experience that growing up in the church?
That's a really good question. I think that the first thing I'll speak to that is that everything must be in the church setting. The way that I experience, let me more say it like that, is that everything must be in service to like what we are socialized or what is defined as the will of God or whatever, right? And that is largely a reflection of the culture, the people who have the power to create the setting and to create the atmosphere and to affect, you know, the rules or whatever, their taste, their personal taste sometimes. It's a lot more manly, if you will, quote unquote, than what people would like to admit. But anyway, so I'd say that that's the first thing. So like speaking to that idea that like, well, yeah, sing, but only do it this way. Even when it comes to vocal technique, you know, my voice is a lot softer and prettier and it's like jazzier. So sometimes people will tell me like to sing a certain way in church because that would affect the experience that other people are having. And that's not the way I wanted to sing. So again, that started to create some insecurity around my gift because it was always like, oh, you sing, oh my God, you sing beautifully. But if you just do this, you know, or try this, you know. And so being a person who is queer and who has a spiritual modality of like being able to find beauty anywhere, like you said, I'm very childlike, I'm very open, I'm very like desirous of connection. And well, so I'll save the Leo Moon conversation for later, but you know, I'm very desirous of connection. And so that's how I experienced myself earlier, right? And so I was told that I act like a girl, or I was like, these things were literally seeded into my consciousness. I didn't know that I acted the way I acted. I didn't know that the way I held my body sometimes was problematic until men literally would move my body. Like when I was a little boy, like tell me to stand a certain sort of way. Or literally people would have conversations with me as a child, 5, 6 years old, about how to walk, you know? Yeah, like those types of things. And so I experienced it as a confusion in a way, because even my brother would say things like, you know, I remember him saying, you get that homo sex. And I didn't know, I knew it was an insult, but I didn't know what it meant. So I just knew to throw it back at him. Mm-hmm. But I didn't know what he was talking about. So I'm trying to paint this picture of how people see these things into the consciousness of creative people. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't mean that I would not have had some experiences with men or whatever that, you know, and because I have no problem with that. But I do think that there's a part of my experience that is colored by the fact that I never felt like I belonged in a space, like I was never given access to mm-hmm. a space that I feel like is just human, right? Because I am very what people may consider typical boy-like, in the sense of like, I'm not super clean. I'm not super tidy. I'm very forgetful. I'm very like just in the moment, very like, I'm gonna just do it all over the place, you know, like a puppy. I honestly think of myself as like a puppy sometimes. Like I'm just all over the place and want you to just snuggle and love me and knocking shit over. And, you know, so that's how I experience myself. Mm-hmm. But having the gift, so all of that was there, right? The personality and like just how I showed up. Then when we come to the gift, it was like I said, you know, I remember really liking Whitney Houston, Anita Baker. And I remember, you know, people like disparaging me from singing their songs or singing like them or trying to imitate them. Like, you know, you need to sing some Luther Vandross or something like that, right? Literally like trying to dictate the way that I experienced my gift, like what I just naturally was inclined to. I just like Anita Baker's voice. And as I've gone through my journey as a man, I always like a lower, you know, alto woman with a darker tone in her voice that can sing higher. Right. That's one of my favorite voices. And so as a child, I was just naturally drawn to it. But I was like told that there was something wrong with me just naturally being drawn to her voice, right? And so I always experienced it as like I always experienced my gift being policed. And it became a place of like insecurity where like, it was like, well, yeah, I do have this gift, but it caused a lot of attention, because it's like, well, I mean, I just can do this stuff. And it's like, well, oh, but don't do it like that. You know, don't do it like this. And it's like, it became a place of insecurity for me. Like maybe in my 10, 10, you know, years old, something like that.
That's really, it makes sense to me, because I saw that in my community and in my home growing up, like people being heavily scrutinized and policed for being true to themselves, for being in the essence of who they really were. And in my family, I had an uncle who was queer. I like the word that you use, queer. That feels like a new terminology for a woman at my age. Okay. But I like it. I appreciate it. Thank you. I had an uncle who was queer, and he was very deeply spiritual, like was at church all the time. And we did a thing in my family where we never acknowledged his sexuality. We always talked about his partners like they were his friends. That's his friend. And they could be together for 20 years and we would still say that's his friend. Right.
Yes.
You know, and it's like, what a diminishment of your essence, because the Leo moon is really about the essence of your light, of your creativity. It's the Leo moon is this desire to really be seen as who you are.
That's yes, God, that is yes. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. So I want to hear what you have to say. Tell me about that.
Yes. So, speaking to that, so I should acknowledge that in my natal chart, my moon is in Leo.
Yes.
So a lot of this stuff I have dealt with on a very real level throughout my life. Again, to the point, to the extent of being told that I am being seen as something that like I don't even know, right? So then it's like even before I was confused about like, well, you know, or had any tension in my experience around like see me this way, it was like I was confused about why people were seeing me that way. Like, you know, or like what were even the words that they were using? Like I said, my brother was saying homosex. It was like it took me a while to like even understand what he was trying to say. And so what I have found with a lot of these natal positionings and these energies that play out in our lives is that they begin to affect us before we even conscious about what it is that's happening. So for me, there's always been a terseness around the identity. Even to the point of like you said, like I don't like to use words like gay or heterosexual or homosexual because I feel like that they don't like fully encapsulate the beingness, the me, you know what I'm saying? Like, and how vast and broad and fluid and all of that stuff that I can be. And being a child who has, again, just a physical memory in my voice, in my body, around how to hear and reproduce sound, and then being told what that is, right? And then being told what that means. Like, so that means that you are a singer and that this is the space that we have in our culture for that. Like being, you know, from the church. So this is what you do. You go in the choir. It's almost like these scripts. They already know what you're supposed to be doing. And it's like, well, I definitely had trouble around when I began to develop the consciousness around and around like me and what I think about myself. I had trouble around like feeling like, well, I don't want to do that. Like that ain't me. Like, well, you know, I don't want to sing like that. I don't necessarily like this song that y'all want me to lead. You know what I'm saying? Or like, so I remember feeling like, well, you know, yeah, what about what I want? It's almost like that song on the Dream Girls, like, what about what I need? What about what I want to do? Right. And feeling like that it really didn't matter, you know, like I was going to do what.
That is so powerful. I really appreciate that because that's the unique thing of all the signs, right? The Leo moon sign is the most unique because it shares space with the sun. Right? So nothing competes with the sun. So people who have Leo moon have a tendency to have that thing, what about me? Because the moon cannot compete with the sun at all, right? So literally it's the symbolism, it's the subconscious deep soul thing where your soul is in this internal quest to be seen.
Right.
Right.
Yes, and I think that creates a motif to where we're sensitive about what is being seen and picked up, right? And then like, what do we do with that information? You know, like me in particular, it's like having a Leo moon and then the Cancer rising. I feel like I was talking to a friend the other day. She's a Ghanaian friend of mine, and she was talking about how much she was in love with me when she first met me. And then she said it took her about 10 years to realize that, oh, everybody falls in love with Raheem. Like, it's just what happens, you know? And she said she thought that she was special, but she said she went to talk to my friend Cece, and he was in love with me. And then my friend Aquato was in love with me. And then there was other people that were just like, oh my God, like I just love Raheem. And it's taken me a long time to really, and you helped me along this journey, which is why I spoke so intentionally about how much I love you. It wasn't just lip service or placation. It was, you have helped me in very real ways to get present to the gift that I have, and to really become aware of the ways that I, again, have been taught that there's always something else that I could be doing. There's some way that I could be, you know, like adjusting myself to receive love, or if you just do this, it'll be just right. Versus being able to sit with the gift as it is, and it's perfect as it is, and never having someone in my experience when I was younger to just be like, no, like just develop that. It's good. You may not be able to sing in the choir, but your gift is your gift, right? And find where it goes, you know, and having that space and having that support to find that space and not feeling like, well, if I'm not fitting into this, then I'm wrong. Or if I'm not using it for Jesus, that was a big thing too. Okay. That language.
Yes.
Like, you got to use your gift for Jesus. Sell out to Jesus. Sell out for Jesus. And it was like, I didn't have an issue with Jesus as a child.
Being sold out for Jesus.
Being sold out for Jesus was a lot of the language that we used, that was used to inform us around how we should use our gift. And so I just remember, like, again, not having an issue with Jesus, like actually liking the concept of Jesus, somebody who died for our sins. And it just felt, so I guess, again, that Leo moon, Cancer rising, it just felt good. But then it was like, again, all of these rules around how I can use my gift if I'm doing that. And I was like, well, I don't know if I even want to do that. Like, I mean, I can only sing this way, or I can only use these words, and I'm also a writer. So, like I'm always pulling words and things that people are saying and weaving them together into a story, but I can only talk about Jesus and salvation and the Bible to be able to sing and create. Like, I'm good on all of that, so it created a sense of, like, especially as a late teenager, it created a sense of rejection for, and I think I was going to say it created rejection for the ways that people were telling me that I should use my gift. But as I think about it, it also created a sense of rejection for parts of my gift, because I had associated parts of my gift with being a churchy singer, or a, like somebody who comes from the church. And also I've had to reclaim that too. Like really being able to be comfortable with the part of my voice that just comes off as church when I open my mouth. Like, I'll be in a space and people like, I can tell you grew up in church, So, yeah.
Yes, I'm very moved by your remembrance of how you were judged and criticized and how you then took it on.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my reasons for creating this podcast, and I named it Forget Everything You Think You Know, because my intention is to have conversations, especially around centered in Black experience, Black American experience, Black Western experience, to see how we got where we are. What are the practices, the beliefs, the structures that have been in place to get us where we are? And let's forget that. Let's forget it, because we're done with that now. So this idea of, holding people to this idea of sin and what salvation is, like, to me, that's nobody's business. That's between you and your creator.
Absolutely.
I don't have nothing to do with Jesus. That don't have nothing to do with the minister, the way you sing, the clothes you wear. That is between you and your creator. And what I see that we often do, because we're so traumatized, right? Because we've been so indoctrinated through the slave system, through the American system, through this Western European ideals of what is acceptable and what is not. But we are African and indigenous people. And when you spend time in those cultures before the colonization, because let's not act like they're not completely colonized on a lot of levels, right?
Absolutely.
But there is a lot of rawness. Like, if you think about African spirituality, it celebrates African spirituality without the Western tones. It celebrates the full experience of our humanity.
Absolutely.
It celebrates the light and the dark. It celebrates all of it, because that's
masculine, the feminine motifs, the masculine archetypes, the feminine archetypes, the trans archetypes, the ones that are in between.
That's right.
Not even in between, because it's not as polar or as dichotomized. But I completely agree. And I was thinking about the other day about how, a lot of, and this is something that, you and I have talked about, a lot of the ways that people are, we think about sickness, you think about the placebo effect, right? If people believe they're being healed, they will be healed. If people believe they're being sickened, they will be sickened, right? Yeah. Or if they believe that something is more powerful than their bodies, when they come into contact with it, their bodies will literally create that experience for them, because they've been, right? And so a huge part of the work that has been done is to get us to believe and to understand certain dichotomies and motifs and structures and all of that stuff, so that then we can take on, like you said, certain beliefs and reproduce them into the physical experience, right? So using the power that melanated people have to then create what it is that they want to create, right? To use us in service of that thing. And so I was thinking about the other day about, like, the programs of a computer, like the Apple computer runs different than the Windows, and then there's other programs. And like literally Apple computers, like, because they don't even have the language to communicate with Windows, they're not susceptible to the viruses that Windows computers are, right? Mm-hmm. So it's almost like I feel like that we have, in a lot of ways, some of our ancestors literally gave over into, and then some of us were moved into changing our program, changing our operating system. So now we're susceptible to the diseases and the viruses. I'm talking about at this point that are going on in this sphere, and so like being a person, again, going back to, like being a creative, it's like there's so much that I want to do around teaching and bringing creatives to the space of like understanding that your gift is not to make money. Your gift wasn't given to you. Now that can be one of the services of it. That can be one of the things of it, but your gift was given to you to experience this life and to express this life. It honestly is for you.
Yes.
But it can be enjoyed by other people, and it is of service to other people as well. But it's something that you do, like being able to sing, going through life, and then you have some stress and you're just able to just sing a song that really blesses you. Right? You can do that for other people, but honestly, you can do that for yourself too. And so I really want to get back to, like you said, that pre-colonized understanding of what the gift really is here for. What like is literally like a result of my ancestors just developing skills over time and being passed on, and developing skills over time and being passed on, and having a relationship with melanin, having a relationship with sound and light and all of that stuff. And then us just creating this like physical memory in my vocal cords that I've been given, that just knows how to do certain things, right? And that literally is that's one way of looking at it. But to me, that's the physical way of looking at it for me. So it's like I've been given this thing that can just do this thing, and it can do a lot of different things, but it can just do this thing. And for me, that's a really pre-colonized understanding of the gift, is that it's just here. It's literally a result of ancestral knowledge and information that's been encoded in my body, and I have a gift now, and I have an ability now, right? And that ability is it can be used in service of multiple different things, and but I really want people to just be present to the fact that it's just an ability that is a result of your ancestral line and their understanding and their knowledge. That in and of itself is so powerful.
Yes, it is. It is. And as you talk about it so simply, as you break it down to the most common denominator, I can feel the power of what singers do. Like no one can do what singers do.
Absolutely.
I grew up in a family of singers, and I am not a singer. And so I sat at their feet, and they were like, okay, Monique, hit this tone, like you, right? Like and I couldn't do it. And they'd be like, girl, go sit down, right? So I understand, because I couldn't do it. Like how you said you could do a little bit of it. Sometimes I could do a little bit of harmonies. They'd be like, come on in and sing a little harmony or whatever. But I so wanted to be able to do it because I could feel how they impacted me. They made me feel. They made me feel. Like when you open your mouth, Raheem, you take me inside of your heart. You take me inside of your heart. You take me inside of my heart. I can feel something that's otherworldly when I hear you sing. And so when you say it's the gift from your ancestors, and that means I can hear your ancestors. That's what I know.
That's it. That's it. You literally hear Jesse and Sarah and Idell and Larcia and Perry and all of these ancestors whose names I can call, but you literally hear Corrine and all of these people, and you literally hear them. Their motifs, these like small, subtle nuances that come together to create the voice that is Raheem, the literal, physical, like I guess you could say idling. That is my voice, that makes my voice, the sinuses, all of that stuff that makes my voice be what it is. It's literally information that when they were alive, they were perceiving certain realities. And then they had a certain consciousness that was making certain decisions about what type of human would be best fit to serve and survive in this environment. And so then that psyche created a DNA information coding that then created a human and continues to do this and continues to do this. This intelligence continues to do this through the sperm and through the egg, continues to do this work. And then I'm here.
Wow.
as the result of all of that information.
Mm-mm-mm. And that is just so powerful, the creative process. And that's what Leo is. It
That's
is
it.
process.
Creative.
Woo! We in church. We in church. All right, to the listeners, I understand you. For those of you who grew up in the Black church, and you or you are a musician, or you know musicians, you understand what we're talking about. This is divine intelligence at its finest. That it reproduces itself and builds itself, and that we have, as Black Americans, or that we are so resilient.
Mm.
Our resilience. When you told that story, you called your ancestors' names, because I've studied history, and I know you're from the South. You're from North Carolina, right?
Carolina, yeah.
Right. So there is a history of North Carolina. So I can feel that, and I can hear that when you sing. I can hear that when I can hear that in the tone of your voice. I can hear it. I
Mm.
can hear the freedom
Mm.
that wasn't available
Mm.
hundreds of years ago, but it's available now. Or the way that they access freedom. Maybe the only freedom they had was being able to create a sound
Mm.
and sing a song. Maybe that was it. And then they passed that through to you. I'm just in awe. I am in awe. So tell me, how have you reconciled? Like, I can hear that you've done a lot of work, and I know you were friends, we work together. So, but how have you reconciled your childhood experience with who you have become as a man?
Mm. A bit of it has been knowing that, or believing that a lot of what I experienced was because I had what it takes to piece it together into a story, into a healing package, if you will, for other people to like come and have.
Mhm.
So that's one of the ways that I reconciled it, is like believing in a purpose for it, right? And I think that that's a lot of the ways that a lot of us hold on to. I guess, a level of healing from trauma, is that we like need to connect to the fact that there's a purpose for it, like to believe that there's a purpose for it. So that's one way. And then also like just being able to, around my 19 to 27, 28 years, 19 years old to about 27, 28, I was like really abhorrently against church and all of those things that I had been taught. And it really created a space to where I've come back to like the church in ways that like really feel good to me. It's just giving me time and space to connect with what I truly feel, right?
Mhm.
And to follow those things and to piece together a life that is the pieces of all of these systems and institutions that I've come into contact with, and weave a garment that is my own, that I can wear, that's my own. And so I've also done that, divorced myself from a lot of the things that I have been taught to find what it is that I feel about myself. So I like the fact that I can be so so intensely what people consider feminine, and then so intensely what people consider masculine. And I like being able to vacillate in between the two. I like having access to, like you were saying earlier, the emotional intelligence. I like being able to like just be in somebody's presence and like be able to just intuit like a huge story about them.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times when I tell them, it's like, whoa, like, okay, yeah, like you can feel that just by the way I was moving my body, or the way I was talking, or certain words that I was using. I love being able to have that ability. And so I've been able to also recognize that there are certain ways that I showed up in the world that people just didn't have the language and understanding. And so then they, again, projected and associated me with things that were just comfortable for them. And I've also been able to find, like you said, there's a beauty in that. There's a beauty in the fact that they wanted to at least give me a place for them so that they can, understand me and interpret me. So I've also been able to like see the beauty in all of that, although it was hurtful, but
Yeah.
also see the functionality and the beauty in some of the ways that our brains work to associate and, again, create boxes and create rules and all of that stuff to help people to feel safe. So that's one of the ways that I've also reconciled like the man that I am today with who I, was as a child. and just finding the beauty. That's been the big thing, is just like finding the beauty of it, like, and then just falling in love with it. Like, yo, I like that about myself. Like, you may think that I talk too much, but I like that about myself, like, and being able to hold space for what people believe and how people perceive me, and let it be what it is, but also be in touch with what I think and perceive about myself. So that's those have been the ways.
Oh, wow, that's really powerful. So what I hear you saying, coming back full circle, is that the ways that you were restricted as a child really helped you see what you like. It's like, oh, they're attempting to give me an identity, is what I heard you say. And you realized that's not my identity. So now as an adult, you understand that pattern, you understand and you also know how to say, that's not who I am, this is who I am.
Exactly.
That's really powerful. Thank you. The thing that is so significant about the Leo moon, and you have a Leo moon, and there's going to be a Leo full moon on the 28th, and understanding that the moon, because it shares space with the sun in Leo, has to find a way to reflect the light. Because all the attention that you get won't be like the sun. It's not like your presence is not like the sun. It's not as direct, right? It's like you have to come through the shadows. That's right. That the moon reflects the light of at night, right? And so at night they're the shadows. So it's literally what I hear you saying is you have combed through the shadows. Moved through the shadows to source your light. To express your gift. Come on now, brother.
Come on, somebody. Come on. Put her in A flat. That's good. That'll preach right there.
And that's the power of being Black in America, because we carry the shadow for this country. That is what we do. We carry the creative power, we carry the feminine power, we carry the mystical power for the entire country. And it often means that we have to siphon through the shadows, through our despair, through our ancestral power and lineage, to discover the higher realms of light, to bring forth the essence of who we are.
And to be of service to the human evolutionary process that we talked about earlier. Like that may be again, that there's a way that we can read that, like you said, that particular, like, I guess you could say, like occurrence in the human experience. We can read it as like, oh, it's in service of like the evolution of humanity, and it's also getting back to like just the information that's in the body, and the way the body like literally has its own intelligence, and the psyche and the mind and the body are like having conversations and relationships with each other. It's like being a melanated person. That's a part of what we can physically just do. Right. It's to carry a shadow and not fucking go crazy. Most of us, right? Is to be where we are and find that people have much easier material experiences and still do not have the level of groundedness and the level of like peace that we can access, even being targeted and defined and marginalized, and all of these things still can find a place of groundedness and a peace, because having melanin in and of itself creates an experience where you can perceive external stimulation, whether that be music. That's why a lot of us are more adept with like dancing and like hearing the beat. We can hear a beat and literally find the place in it. You know what I'm saying? Most of us, and that is not arbitrary. That's right. We have a predominance of something that literally is having a conversation with the frequencies outside of us, right?
Right.
Yeah, and it creates, it's in the eardrums. It creates an experience for the body. So there's like, oh, I hear a beat, and I'm automatically like, hey, okay, you know. So it's a beautiful thing, but it's also, it can be an arduous thing.
That's right. Yeah. One of the things, I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and I was saying, with all the experiences I have had being Black, I would not trade it for anything. Yes, I I have come through trauma and my parents and all at the effect of this very oppressive system. And I would not trade being a Black woman for to be a white woman or any other. I would not, because this gift, this is so restoring. It's so deeply connected to source. Like I feel so profoundly, and the empathy and the power that I get from it is amazing. And so I am so grateful that you have been here today. Like I was saying, you are one of the most emotionally um, alert and intelligent people I know. And I personally have always been very attracted to men who are very emotionally alive, who are sensitive, who can have conversations with me about their feelings and hear conversations about my feelings and not think it's too much. So I honor you.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Monique.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your gift. Thank you for sharing your story with us here today. And would you please tell people where they can find you? And,
You can find me everywhere at Raheem Kashon. Raheem is RAHEEM. Kashon is KASHON. So all things music, art, culture that I post on social media, you can find me at that. Raheem Kashon.
Okay. I encourage you all to go find him, go listen to his music, and then try to be his friend, because you are great. Like, you just are so full of wisdom and so full of love. And I feel that from you every single time. So thank you so much. Thank you for being here today.
Absolutely. Peace and blessings.
All right, everyone. Enjoy this Leo full moon. Please look at your chart and see what you have going on in Leo. I personally have Mars in Leo, so I am very creative and I love creative people and I love being true to myself. And you feel the energy. See if there's something trying to emerge through you. See if there's something that is trying to get your attention, that is asking you to be more true to yourself, bigger, like the sun. Like I remember once I had a dream. I woke up one morning and I heard Spirit said to me, "Be like the sun." And I was like, what does that mean? So let's just meditate on being like the sun. So take this podcast, think about the sun, see how the sun, your relationship to the sun, how it shows up in your life, and then ask it, because the sun is a living being. It is alive. And then ask the sun to show you how you can be more like it. All right. I am Monique Ruffin. Thank you for being here at Forget Everything You Think You Know. We will be back again in 2 weeks with the Aquarius new moon call. Peace and blessings. I love you all. Bye-bye.
We listen to jazz in the living room. The feeling we know but don't surrender to, trying to remember who am I? Who am I?